Hello children, I hope everyone is fine. Let me start with the session. The familiar quote of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Dream is not that which you see while sleeping. It is something that doesn't let you sleep. We can take this quote as for dream, ambition, aspiration and longingness to do something. Usually during holidays, we plan to visit grandparents' home, hill stations, tourist spots and some other interesting places. That longingness stay inside our heart until the holidays arrive. Today we see such a beautiful poem of longingness. When we get fever, we consult doctor and take medication. Generally, fever is sickness. But here, fever means longingness. The poet longs to go on sea voyage. Poem shows the wanderlust of the poet. Come, let's enjoy the poem Sea Fever. This poem was written by John Edward Mansfield. He was an English poet. At the age of 16, he navigated on sea as a merchant. He faced seasickness. So he left the ship in 1895 and worked in many odd jobs. Later he entered into the world of writing. He was appointed Poet Laureate of United Kingdom in 1930 and served up to his death, that is 1967. The most famous poem is Sea Fever, appeared in his first book of collected works, Saltwater Ballads, which was published in 1902. Who has written the poem? Yes, this poem was written by John Edward Mansfield. Okay, let me start the poem. I'll read out the poem, just listen. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. Let me repeat again, listen carefully. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. The first stanza begins with the refrain, I must go down to the seas again, which is repeated at the beginning of each stanza and gives immediate sense to the title, that is longingness. Okay, there is a new word in this first stanza. Let me see. A star to steer. What is a star? It is a polar star. It lies on north side, which tells the sailor where north is and thus they can steer the ship correctly. It guides the sailor to locate the latitude of the region. We'll understand the poem line by line. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, which means poet wished to go to the seas again. He left sailing at the age of 17 due to sickness. He wanted to go once again. He wished to go to the lonely sea, which means he wanted peace and to enjoy nature. The poet desperately wants to go to the lonely sea. Next line is, I must go down to the seas again, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. Poet expresses his wish for the need of a sturdy ship sail in the sea and a star to act as a guide in the darkness of night. Next line, and the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sail shaking. Wheels kick. Wheels kick. What is wheels kick? Wheels kick refers to the ship's steering wheel spinning out of control. Sails help the ship to move. It is tied in such an angle to move perpendicular to the wind. Next line is, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. At the breaking of the dawn, he wants to see the grey mist rise up from the sea. Mist means a cloud of tiny particles are suspended at the atmosphere at or near the Earth's surface that limits visibility. You cannot see. See this picture. You can see the mist on the surface of the sea. You cannot see the sea clearly. Then the poet wants, the sun has to stretch its arm, gobbles tiny droplets, spreads yellowish patches all over the horizon. He wished to see the breaking of the dawn. Then, shall we move to the next stanza? I must go down to the seas again for the call of the running tide. This is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. Let me repeat again. Listen carefully. I must go down to the seas again for the call of the running tide. This is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and seagulls crying. The second stanza of the poem calls for all the five senses of a human being to read, feel the beauty of the sea and atmosphere around. There are some new words in the second stanza. Let me see. Flung. Flung means threw. Look at the picture. The girl threw the ball. Then second one is spume. Spume means sea foam. Look at the picture. The water in the sea rushes towards the shore and dashes on the rock. Then sea foam forms. Let us see the understand the poem line by line. I must go down to the seas again for the call of the running tide. Here it means the poet emphasizes irresistible pull of the sea. He imagines sea is calling him to come to the sea. Then second line is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. The second line means again the poet emphasizes the irresistible pull of the sea as he repeats the word call, wild call. Next line is, and all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying. What he wants? He wishes that there would be strong winds making the white clouds fly. The last line is, and the flung spray and the blown spume and seagulls crying. Flung spray means, imagine you are standing on the shore. The waves rushes towards the shore and hit the surface of the shore. Then the waves rise above. The droplets spray on your face. How do you feel? You feel so happy, no? Like that he and the poet wanted. Then what he wanted to convey is, he wants to see the foamy waves and listen to the cry of the seagulls. Mansfield's descriptions allow the reader to stand on the shore, listening to the seagulls crying, watching white clouds flying, feeling the coldness of the windy day and the saltiness of the flung spray and the blown spume on our tongue and nose. Let us move to the third stanza. I'll read out. Listen carefully. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the winds like whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yawn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. I'll repeat again, listen. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yawn from a laughing fellow rover and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. The third stanza of Sea Fever brings the theme of wanderlust to the forefront. It is undeniably a demonstration of the poet's love for the sea and the life of a sailor. See, there are so many new words in this stanza. Let's see one by one. Vagrant. Vagrant means wandering. Vagrant means wandering. Look at the picture. A man wanders on the mountain. A man wanders on the mountain. Next one is trick. Trick means a period of stay on the ship after a voyage. Look at the picture. The people are staying in the ship. Next one is whetted. Whetted means sharpened. Look at the picture. There is a knife. Sharp knife is there. Sharp knife is easy to cut the vegetables. Next, yarn. Yarn is a long or rambling story, especially one that is impossible. Have you read about the book Alice Adventure in Wonderland? Alice went behind the rabbit and see the wonderland. There are so many adventures met by Alice. It is unbelievable, yet we want to read the novel. Then next one is flurried. Flurried means worried. Flurried means worried. Look at the picture. The child is worried. The child worries because his sibling doesn't share the toys with him. So he worries. Next, rover. Rover means wanderer. Rover means wanderer. Look at the picture. A man wanders on the desert. In this poem, rover means fellow sailor. Fellow sailor, he also wants to wander on the sea like a poet. Next, we'll go to the poem line by line, understanding the poem. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life. Have you heard about gypsies? What do gypsies do? Gypsies move from place to place. They used to sing songs and play musical instruments and dance from place to place and entertain the people in the villages. The poet wanted to be like a wandering gypsies, nomad. He wanted to wander on the sea. The next line is, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like whetted knife. To the gull's way. What do seagulls do? Seagulls fly from here to there. It moves from one place to another place. Likewise, the poet wanted to move from one place to another place. He never wanted to stay in one place for a long time. The whale's way. The whale's way means here the whale lives under the deep ocean. The poet also wanted to wander on the deep ocean. That deep ocean is lonely. It is apart from the real world. There is no disturbances. Only nature. He wanted to enjoy such a nature. The wind's like whetted knife. The wind is like whetted knife. This line signifies the chilling sensation caused by the unrestricted blowing of the cold winds. Whetted means sharp. Here the wind is so cold that it cuts like a knife. The next line is, and all I ask is a merry yawn from a laughing fellow rover. And all I ask is a merry yawn from a laughing fellow rover. What does it mean? He would love to listen to entertaining tales from a fellow sailor. He knows that tales are imaginary, but yet he wanted to listen to him and enjoy with him and laugh with him. So he wanted a fellow sailor to sail on the sea. He needs a company like him. Then last line is, and quiet sleep and sweet dream when the long trick's over. And quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. After the long journey, he would like to have a good sleep and a sweet dream. This was written by John Edward Mansfield. Let us see some literary devices used in sea fever. See, first one is assonance. Assonance means it is a repeating of vowel sounds. It is a repeating of vowel sounds. Look at the poem. In the third line of the first stanza, kick, wheels kick and the wind song. I sound, I kick and wind is the assonance. And also song and the white sail shaking. It is also assonant, a sound. It is the vowel sound. Next one is alliteration. Alliteration means the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. You might have known, you might have learned from 6th standard. Alliteration means the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. In this poem, alliteration is used in the second line of 3rd stanza. To the gulls way, W, to the gulls way and the whales way, where the winds like whetted knife. This is an example for alliteration. Star to steer, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. Ship, star, steer. These are the examples for alliteration. Then next one is personification. Personification means gives human traits and qualities such as emotions, desires, sensations, gestures and speech to the inanimated objects. That is called as personification. Personification means giving human traits and qualities to inanimated objects. Here, where personification is used, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. Then third line of the second stanza, and all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying. Then third line of the third stanza, and all I ask is a merry yawn from a laughing fellow rover. And also sea's face. Sea doesn't have face. Sea has surface. Here he refers sea's face. Sea's face is the part of the human body. So it is called as personification. Then another poetic device is imagery. It appeals to our sense of smell, sight, taste, touch or hearing. You can see this imagery in the second stanza of the, see here one can listen to the wild call, one can listen to the windy day and watch the white clouds flying and sense and smell the flung spray and blown spume, saltiness of the blown spume, and also listen to the seagulls crying. So it is a perfect example for imagery. Then next one is anaphora. The repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. Anaphora means the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. Here, and all I ask is repeated in all the stanzas. In the first stanza, second line in the first stanza and third line in the second stanza and also third line in third stanzas. And all I ask is repeated. These phrases repeated. So it is called as anaphora. Next one is consonants. Consonants is a repeating consonant sound. What we learnt assonance. Assonance is a repeating vowel sound. Consonance is a repeating consonant sound. Where consonance is used in C fever. It is used in third line of first stanza. Wind song and the white sail shaking. Wind, N, in sound in wind, in sound in song and in sound in shaking. This is the perfect example for consonants. Then enjambment. Enjambment is the continuation of a sentence or clause across a line break. Enjambment is the continuation of a sentence or clause across a line break. Look at the first and second line of the second stanza. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. These two lines is a continuation of a single sentence. So it is called as enjambment. There are so many poetic devices used in this poem. Let me recall what are the poetic devices in the C fever: assonance, consonants, alliteration, personification, imagery, enjambment. Very good. Let's move to the next part. Okay, I'll ask you some questions. Try to answer. If you don't answer, no problem. I'll tell you. The title of the poem, Sea Fever, means what? Yes, the poet's deep wish to be at sea. The poet's deep wish to be at sea. The poet asks for what? The poet asks for a fishing net, a big boat, a tall ship. What does he want? He wants a tall ship. The poet wants to lead a life at sea like the gulls and the whales, the penguins and sharks, the pelicans and dolphins. What life he wanted to be like? He wanted to be like the gulls and the whales. Next, read the lines and answer the questions. I'll read out the line appreciation questions from your book back exercise. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky. Where does the poet want to go? The poet want to go to the sea. Yes, very good. Second one is, and the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sail shaking. What, according to the poet, are the pleasures of sailing? The pleasures of sailing is the wheels kick, the wind song and the white sail shaking are the pleasures of the poet. He wanted to, when you are moving on the ship, the waves shake the ship. He wanted to enjoy that. These are the pleasures of the poet. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying. Why does the poet ask for a windy day? Because a windy day helps the sail to move on the sea. Next one, and all I ask is a merry yawn from a laughing fellow rover. Question is, what kind of human company does the poet want? The poet wants the laughing fellow rover and he wants to narrate a beautiful imaginative story to him, and together they laughed together and they wanted to sleep together on the ship. Then next one, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream and the long trick's over. The question and the line is, what does the poet want to do after his voyage is over? He wished to have a nice sleep and a sweet dream after the voyage is over. Then I'll give you some follow-up questions. Try to answer it. What sounds of the, listen and note down students, what sounds of the sea are recalled in John Masefield Sea Fever? What sounds of the sea are recalled in John Masefield Sea Fever? Name the creatures mentioned in the poem. Why does the speaker describe the sea as lonely in the sea fever? Listen, why does the speaker describe the sea as lonely in the sea fever? Why has the, next question is, why has the poet mentioned the wind as a whetted knife? Next question is, why has the poet mentioned the wind as a whetted knife? Let me conclude this session. I think you have enjoyed this poem, I think so. Okay, let me conclude the session by the familiar quote of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Excellence happens not by accident. It is a process. So, you wanted to excel in any language or academics or in sports, you have to prepare, practice and all. You won't get the excellence in first time. You have to do again and again. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you, children.